Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Dynamite Explorers program. My name is Anna, and we are on week 8. So last time we learned all about a recently discovered flying reptile from China, the Yichi. And if you guys missed it, make sure you check out our YouTube channel, and you can go back and you can watch all the other videos too. So this week we're going to learn about one of the toughest and most armored dinosaurs of all time, the Ankylosaurus. So when and where did Ankylosaurus live? Ankylosaurus lived 68 to 66 million years ago during the late Maastrichtian age of the Upper Cretaceous period. And they lived in the area that we know today to be Western North America, but at the time would have been referred to as Laramidia. So remember, we've got this big chart, and then we're talking about the area right at the top left in this very, very, very last age of the Mesozoic era. And we've got this map of what North America looked like in the past. We've got Laramidia here on the left-hand side, and then this is, and where the star is, this is about the area where Ankylosaurus would have lived. So it's the very north edge of the United States and like the lower edge of Canada. And that's the area that we're talking about. So how did Ankylosaurus get its name? So their name comes from a combination of the Greek words ankylos, meaning bent or crooked, and sauros, which means lizard. But if you put their name together fully, the full translation of their name can actually be fused lizard, stiff lizard, or curved lizard. And they were given this name totally in full because the bones in their skull and other parts of their body were actually fused together. And that made the dinosaur extremely, extremely rugged. So if you take all of their things, bent, crooked, fused, and you combine it all together, that's how you get Ankylosaurus. So when was the Ankylosaurus discovered? They were discovered in the year 1906, so about 115 years ago, when paleontologist Barnum Brown discovered fossils in the Hell Creek Formation near the town of Gilbert Creek, Montana. So it's in this corner of Montana. And what did Ankylosaurus look like? Well, Ankylosaurus was part of a group of dinosaurs called Thyreophorans. And this group of dinosaurs was distinguished, and that means that they were able to be identified by their thick, bony armor and spikes that protected their bodies. So you can see that they've got this thick, bony armor here, and they've got all these spikes all over their bodies. And the Ankylosaurus was actually a quadruped, meaning that they walked on all 4 limbs. So you can see here, they've got all 4 limbs. And the Ankylosaurus is actually most famous for its armor. So you guys might have heard of this dinosaur before, and it's because it was so heavily armored. There were actually over 100 different knobs and plates of bone that were embedded in their skin. And these plates of bone are actually called osteoderms. So we're going to use that term later on too. So just remember the osteoderms are the plates of bone and their armor that they have all over their body. Now, scientists don't know exactly how they were placed on their bodies, but they do know that the plates ranged in length anywhere from a half an inch to 14 inches. So a half an inch is really, really, really small, and 14 inches is over a foot long. It's pretty big. So the plates on their bodies were all different sizes. And they also had a very large tail club that was made from the same osteoderms. Remember, those are the different kinds of bony plates that they had that were their armor that coated all over their bodies. So this tail club right here was actually made out of the same thing that coated the rest of their bodies. Now, scientists don't know exactly what they used their tail club for, but it could have been used for a number of reasons. They could have used it for knocking down trees, for vegetation, so they could eat the trees. They could have used it for protection against other predators. But scientists aren't totally sure yet, like what it was for. But they do think that their tail would have been strong enough to break the bones of other dinosaurs. So that means that if a dinosaur tried to attack the Ankylosaurus and tried to eat it, if they hit it with their tail club, they could have actually killed the other dinosaur and saved themselves. Now, the Ankylosaurus could actually grow up to 33 feet long, which is pretty long, but they would have only been anywhere from 4 feet to about 5.5 feet tall. So they were incredibly, incredibly long, but they were really short and really low to the ground. And even though they were really short, it's estimated they could have weighed about 10,000 pounds. So due to all this heavy coating and armor, they've got this really aggressive and strong tail club, and they were really large in size. They're actually referred to as a living tank. So what did the Ankylosaurus eat? Well, the Ankylosaurus was actually an herbivore, and they had a really varied diet, which means they ate a lot of different things. They had a beak, just like a lot of birds do, and like the Triceratops did, if you guys remember from a few weeks ago. And that likely adapted to help them better browse through crops. And they ate tough leaves and fruit alongside a large diet of ferns and low-growing shrubs. So they ate all different kinds of fruit and plants. And they actually could have eaten as much as 154 pounds of plants and fruits a day. And a fully grown manatee actually eats about the same amount of food. So if you guys can picture a manatee in the ocean eating 154 pounds of plants and fruits a day, that would have been the same as the Ankylosaurus. So how fast was the Ankylosaurus? Well, unfortunately, at full speed, the Ankylosaurus was only able to run about as fast as the average human can walk, which is about 3 to 4 miles per hour. And this was because they were so incredibly large and heavy. They were so long, but they were still really short and low to the ground. So their limbs weren't very long, so they couldn't move very fast. So what are some fun facts about the Ankylosaurus? Well, they were so coated in armor that scientists think that they even had armored eyelids. So you can see here this depiction of what scientists think their eyelids might have looked like. And you can see the little osteoderms that are right here that actually coated their eyelids too. Now, skull paleontologists, which are scientists who study fossils, but they actually only study like the skulls of fossils that they find, they learned that the Ankylosaurus actually had a very unusual nasal passage, which is their nose. So in humans, your nasal passage goes up and it goes back down into the edge of your throat and it goes down into your system, right? Well, that wasn't true of the Ankylosaurus. So you can see here in this picture on the right, this is the edge of the skull, and you have the input of the nasal passage. And you see here, it actually goes up, curves around, twists all the way through their brain, because their brain was in the front part of their skull right here, and it shoots down into their body. And this was really, really unusual. And scientists think that this nasal passage could have had a number of different uses. So it could have led to a better sense of smell. They could have actually used it to test the air temperature around them. So they could have blown air out of their nose, and if it would have come back with like cold air coming out, just like when you go outside on a cold morning and you breathe out, go, and you can see your breath come out, they could have used it that way. Or they could have used it to test to see how warm the air was around them. Or it could have actually helped with like their thermoregulation in their body, and it could have actually helped keep the Ankylosaurus cool when it was really warm outside. And the Ankylosaurus actually belonged to a group of very heavily armored dinosaurs called Ankylosauria. And each dinosaur in this group was distinguished by an extensive mosaic of small and interlocking bony plates, or the osteoderms, that completely covered their back and their flanks. So this is just a really small selection. There were a lot of dinosaurs in this group. And this is what some of the dinosaurs looked like. So that is it for this week in the Ankylosaurus. And since we're all finished, we're going to put it on the map. So we've got him right over here. He's kind of hanging out in this area, this Laramidia area, which you can see is getting really crowded. So as a reminder, each week we are going to add the next dinosaur or reptile to our map. And then at the end, we're going to have all of the dinosaurs on the world map to show where they would have lived. So tune in next time, when we explore a new prehistoric creature, which is the largest skulled pterosaur of prehistoric times. So we're going to look at the Lacidromias. All right, see you guys next time.